Hey everybody, it's me, Lego3by11L, and today I'll be starting a new series, exclusively with minifigures from the Goblet of Fire. I will of course still make minifigures from the other Harry Potter books and movies, but seeing as Goblet of Fire is my favorite of the books, and that I'm starting to have such a large collection of minifigures from it, I thought I'd make it more of its own contained thing. We're kicking off this new series with 4 minifigures that might seem familiar to you if you've been watching my channel for a long time, because in this video we'll be looking at my new and updated versions of the minifigures from the first task of the Triwizard Tournament. With all the newest Harry Potter releases, my old Triwizard minifigures simply do not hold up anymore. I had been wanting to update them for a while, and then after that new Cedric, I knew the time had come. Cedric Diggory was chosen to be the Hogwarts champion in the 1994 Triwizard Tournament. He was the first to compete against his dragon, a Swedish short snout, in the first task. For this minifigure I used a lot of new techniques which I've never used before, and honestly I love how pretty much everything on this minifigure turned out. The outfit is rather complex, and it was definitely a challenge to create, but that is just a good thing. I love when it isn't straightforward how to make a minifigure, because then you really have to sit and think, how am I actually gonna do this? And it usually pays off well. One of the new things about all of these minifigures, it's something that you might already have noticed. I got a new printer! It's really sweet. I also got some new sticker material, which I'll try to put a link to in the description. These two things combined really just makes a tremendous difference in the quality of the minifigure. For instance, the lacing down the middle of his outfit and the stitched on Diggory would have been really blurry and just hard to see on the old printer, but here it stands out really clearly. Of course, when getting up close with a macro lens like this, you can see all the small imperfections, but in real life, honestly, it looks just as sharp, if not sharper, than actual minifigure printing on official LEGO minifigures. Another new thing is the cloth waist cape to simulate the continuation of the robe. I personally like this much more than having printing going onto the legs, especially for longer coats and robes. It's not something LEGO really does that often, but I don't think it strays too far from the LEGO style, so I don't really have a problem with doing it. I hand painted the stripes going down the side of the waist cape, and it really gave me a lot more respect for people who actually paint their minifigures. The back doesn't really have anything fancy going on, but I do think it accurately depicts the outfit that I was going for, so I'm really happy with it. The last thing I want to mention on this minifigure is probably my favorite thing about the minifigure, and that is the printing on the arms. I don't think I've ever made printing on the arms before, and I wasn't really sure I was going to do it because I didn't know how well it would look, but boy, does it look good. I'll share some pictures of before I put on the arm printing and after, and honestly it just makes the world of a difference. The printing itself is just the simplest shit, but I don't know what to say. I love it. Well, I think I've been talking enough about Cedric, so let's move on to our Beaubaton champion. Delacour was the second competitor in the first task and went up against a Welsh green. Fleur is definitely the least prominent of the 4 champions, well, at least in Goblet of Fire itself, because she is of course in both Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows. But I do like her a lot actually, and that certainly has nothing to do with Clément's poésie. How would you think that? I even have her wand, I mean... Okay, that has nothing to do with the character, it's just the coolest looking wand. Anyway, the minifigure is quite simple, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because less is often more. The most noteworthy thing is probably the little FD stitched onto her chest. It was a little challenging to make, but nothing compared to the lacing on that other guy. I also like the Beaubaton logo on the back, but other than that, there's not really anything going on back here. The legs on this minifigure is kind of the same as the arms on Cedric. It's not really any fancy stuff going on, it's just a simple stripe and painted on shoes, but I think it just is so damn effective, and it makes it just look so much better. The head is from a Star Wars battle pack, but it had this helmet strap going around the chin, but I simply just removed that with an ordinary pencil eraser, and I think it's a really good head to use for Fleur, and the same goes for the hair. There isn't really much else to talk about for this minifigure, it's just a good figure in my opinion. Krum, the famous international Quidditch player, chosen by the Goblet of Fire to be the dumbstrang contestant in the tournament, third to fight his dragon, a Chinese firebolt, and coming out tied with Harry Potter for first place. This minifigure also wasn't the most complex to make, seeing as the outfit is basically just a long sleeve shirt with a robe on top. For the robe design, I borrowed a little bit from the new Hogwarts robes from the CMF series, but changing things out here and there to match what I was going for. This is something I can definitely recommend you doing if you're just starting out making decals for minifigures. Just copy parts from official minifigures here and there and combine them as you'd like, because then it's much easier to replicate the style LEGO has on their minifigures later on when you're just freehanding it. The Durmstrang logo on the shirt was probably the most challenging thing to do, because I didn't want to make it too detailed, but I also didn't want to leave it too simple, so I had to find a balance between them, and I think it turned out alright. Again, I made a waist cape to continue the robe, and I even painted it red on the inside. You can't really see it for the most part, but I think it's a nice little detail. The head and the hair is just the official one that they used back in 2005. I can't really say that I'm too happy with it, but I didn't really know what else to go with, and it's not bad, it's just dated compared to the other faces. The last additions were the red sleeves and the painted black shoes, and I just think it completes the figure really nicely. Harry Potter is, to everyone's surprise, chosen as the 4th champion in the Triwizard Tournament. However, he has to compete due to the Goblet of Fire's binding magical contract. He is lost in the first task and has to fight the most dangerous and vicious of the 4 dragons, a black and spiked Hungarian horntail. However, against all odds, he comes out number 1 and is quickest to get his golden egg. This minifigure was the first I did out of these 4. The outfit is exactly the same as on Cedric, just with the Gryffindor scarlet instead of the Hufflepuff yellow. I did, however, make 2 different designs, so even though they look similar, it's not just color swaps. Something I didn't mention when talking about Cedric was the stripes down the side of the legs, this time just using those lovely new medium short legs. I did also paint the inside of this waist cape in red, forgot to mention I also did that on Cedric just in yellow. Again, this isn't really something that you can see, but I just think it's a nice little touch. I chose to go for the 2010 head because it's just my favorite, and the Anakin hair just in black. This is my favorite combination for Harry Potter, even though that new hair they made for the 2018 sets is really great as well, but unfortunately it just covers up the scar on this particular head, and I don't really like that. Overall, this is my favorite minifigure in this showcase. Sorry that I'm usually rambling on about how much I like my own minifigures, but I mean, I don't like every single minifig, but when I make something that I'm really proud of, I want to share how proud I am of it, because this minifigure is just good in my opinion. I don't know what to say. And even though it is similar to the Cedric one, I just like the red a little bit more. It just stands out a bit more. But that's it for my 4 minifigures, so let's wrap it up. So again, this is the first part in the list of Goblet of Fire minifigure videos that I'm going to make over the next year. The next video in this series will hopefully come out on the 24th of next month, so that might be a hint to what to expect from that video. I'm actually going to Australia in a couple of weeks, so that video will have to be 100% done before I leave, but if I put a lot of work into it, I think I can manage it. If you for some reason want to see my last attempt at making these minifigures, I'll put a link to my old video in the description, but I warn you, it's really quite bad, but I do still think it's fun to see how I've improved over the years. You can of course go check out my Flickr if you want to see other LEGO stuff from me, like work in progress on mocks and just other stuff like that, or you can go check out my Instagram if you want to see just other LEGO stuff in general, or stuff from my life if that's of any interest to you at all. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you at Christmas. LEGO 3x11L, signing out.